What's up, you guys? Adam here with Anabolic Climbing, and today we're doing the 1 week check-in of my growth hormone and NPP experiment. So, if you're new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and relax, because it's time for rock climbing's favorite mad scientists, and let's jump into it. So, as you guys know, I decided I was going to give GH a final try and be like, okay, can I make this work? Can I not make this work? And also bring in some NPP, otherwise known as Nandrolone polyphenylpropionate. So, let's talk about those two briefly. I'm going to do a deep dive later on this week, but I just want to give my initial thoughts from my first week and performance in the gym and see how everything went. Growth hormone is sort of notorious for helping folks sleep, and I was running about 2 IUs of it, and I was absolutely dead dog tired on like day number 1. It was brutal. And also, it kind of changes your electrolyte balance to put more emphasis on potassium and magnesium and away from sodium. So no matter how much water I drank in the gym, I just felt terrible. Since then, I've gotten some potassium supplementation, which has been helping, and I feel way more acclimated. But the first session was garbage. I had some of the growth hormone fingers where like I feel water in my fingers, and I know they're not hurt, and I know I can handle the working weight, but it just feels tender. And yeah, the workout was fine, not great, honestly pretty below average, and I just felt utterly exhausted. It wasn't great at all. So as far as the Nandrolone, we're running it at 100 milligrams for the week. So far everything looks okay. I initially wanted to pair this with 100 milligrams of Masteron, but if you remember, I had developed a sort of sensitivity to the propionate, and, you know, I love Masteron a lot. I'm going to get a hold of a slower ester so that I could bring that back, but unfortunately, it's not something that I could pair right now, at least not the prop. So I pulled it. I still had that splotch in my skin, which was kind of annoying, but it's already cleared up, and it's been less than a week, which is great. And yeah, I was worried about the mental side effects of the NPP, and I figured that the mask would help mitigate them. And I kind of said to myself, look, either I can handle the Nandrolone or I can't. Maybe I'll pull it, maybe I won't. But I was worried really about 4 key things, right? And the first was anxiety. Second was depression. Third was libido. Then I also had then there was also the question of water weight, but the real question is gyno. Because of the way Nandrolone works at elevating prolactin, which is something that I've had high prolactin in the past, it was definitely something that I was mindful of. So I already have P5P on deck. I don't have cabergoline, but I don't think it's going to get to that point. The short answer is I haven't really had gyno issues, at least not yet. And as far as the mental side effects, everything's been super chill. Libido has been normal, maybe down like 10%, but like whatever. Usually between the Cialis and the Anavar and the test base, like I don't need to upregulate my libido anymore. And I haven't had any issues with anxiety or depression. To be honest, I felt a little bit more mellow this week, which has been great. Part of that could be the Nandrolone, but to be honest, I think most of it is I moved back to daily injections. I was doing 3 injections a week to sort of clear up the skin, give my body a break when I switched over from the test prop to the test sip. And yeah, going back to daily injections kind of cleared up a lot of the irritation that I've had. Part of it's probably from moving and not sleeping enough, but yeah, the short answer is feeling way better this week after day 1 than I felt in a long time. So now that we're kind of over the introduction of the compounds and the things I was worried about, let's talk about the rest of the week and how everything worked and what it felt like climbing and training on 100 milligrams of NPP, plus my test base, plus my usual 10 milligrams of Anavar a day, plus the growth hormone. So, you know, outside of day 1, the dehydration kind of faded, and when I looked at myself on the scale, I'm back in like the low 153s again, which is what I was hoping for. At least right now, there has been no real change in water weight on both the growth hormone and the Nandrolone, which is a little bit surprising. So the reason I'm not super shocked that the water retention hasn't been too crazy is for a lot of underground GH, it's not uncommon for them to throw a diuretic in there as well, which could explain a little bit of the dehydration. Also, NPP sort of differs from DECA, or Nandrolone polyphenylpropionate, versus decanoate, and that it's a much shorter ester. And I think the water retention tends to be way more modest on NPP than DECA. If I was running DECA, that could change, but at least on NPP, the water retention hasn't been bad. I definitely look and feel full. My wife was sort of commenting in the morning that, like, Jesus Christ, you look like a house, and that's always appreciated. And I definitely see it more in my shoulders than I did when I was taking Masteron or anything else. But, you know, I'm not really noticing it on the scale, which is amazing, at least not yet. So that's awesome. The next thing I sort of want to get into is the real reason I wanted to take NPP was for three reasons. One, it's a shorter ester, so if I can tolerate it, I could always switch to DECA later. Two, it's a main driver of collagen synthesis. But three, it was the joint lubrication, right? We're not going to notice any of the collagen benefits in week one, but, you know, I didn't really notice any joint lubrication as it related to my knees. Doing my box jumps, doing my drop downs, all of that felt about normal, but my back felt much better. I tend to be really tight. Also, fingers are starting to get more loose. You guys know about my carpal tunnel. It's been feeling really good. Even my fingers have really felt great outside of day one, which was a surprise and really a welcome one. I was not expecting that. So next up, let's talk about the strength changes. So I usually don't associate Nandrolone as being a strength-based compound. You sort of associate that with your Anivars, your Winnies, your Superdraws, even your Ostrines. But, like, I think just the increased androgen burden really helped me sort of drive through this week. And if you guys have been paying attention to my shorts, holy crap. We have seen pretty wild elevation in my one-arm lock-offs, getting a PR at 18 seconds, 16 seconds on my left arm. My campus project that I have not been able to send that was super cool, that V6, yeah, that felt great. Definitely back felt way better than it's been in a hot minute, really since the last time I ran mast. One-arm lock-offs looked really well. And yeah, the short answer is even my squats felt really good. I felt strong. And the cool part about androgens in general is when stuff gets hard, you kind of lean into it. So if you're training and you're older and you're natural, there sort of hits this pain threshold where you're kind of just like, it hurts, I want to stop. And it doesn't mean that you can't go anymore. It just means you want to stop. And what's really cool about being on gear in general is when that pain starts to set in, you get excited. You get amped up. That's kind of where the fun begins. And you see it. It allows you to... That's one of the things that I think makes progressing so much faster. It's that not only do you sort of tolerate the pain, but you get really into it. Or at least I do. And I think most bodybuilders would probably tell you the same thing. So yeah, that part was super rad. Crushed it in the gym after day one, which was amazing. Deadlifts felt super good. So then I sort of want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the block pulls. So I'm doing my benchmarks, and on day one I was using my straight edge, the lattice 20 millimeter, and I'm switching to the mixed edge 22 mil. And there's a really important reason for that. I've kvetched that my ring fingers have always been sort of sensitive after doing heavy block pulls, and that's just because of the way the straight edge goes. It tends to hyperextend both of them, and it sucks. And I'm not going to say that it halts my progress, but it definitely hurts, and I'm not into it, especially with heavy weight. So with the mixed edge, yeah, I'm gaining 2 more millimeters. I could always drop it down to 16 if I need to, but I want finger health to be prioritized. I'm also kind of interested in raising the load and seeing if that helps when trying to pull smaller edges too. So that's a fun experiment for me too. But the mixed edge felt super good. Lattice makes a really dope product. I liked it a lot. So, you know, I'm not sponsored to say that or anything. I just really liked the product. It felt really good. And the new benchmark on that for my working weight, well, it's normally around 120, around 120 pounds. We're setting the benchmark for the new MXC at about 130. So a little higher. I have a little more surface area. That's not really a surprise, but it feels really good, and that's super important. So let's talk about some of the downsides, right? Right now, like, crushing a couple projects of V5 and V6 that I haven't had. That was really great. Being able to pull more weight. That's awesome. Enjoying being on higher androgens again. Always feels good. What are the downsides? Outside of not being able to take prop because I'm apparently developing an allergy to the phenylpropionate, that sucks. The real issue that I sort of had, in my climbing at least, is I got pumped out really, really bad. I was doing a couple campus problems, and just the blood flow from the shoulders to the biceps to the forearms was nuts. I had to kind of cut some of the climbing stuff short a little bit, just because I was so pumped out. It wasn't that bad for bouldering, and for shorter problems, it's not a big deal, but for longer problems, it's, at least for me, on week 1, it was an issue, and I'm sure if I was doing hard top rope stuff, that could be an issue, or lead. I'm going to try to do some of that later next week to test it. But yeah, I got way more pumped out than I've been in a really long time. And that's cool for weights, but that's not cool for climbing. So yeah, for shorter boulder sessions, not a big deal. For lead and stuff, I'm kind of pumping the brakes on it. The other thing is, like, I have more energy, but I don't have more stamina. So when I was taking MAST and SLUPP 332, I could train really hard, really long, and, you know, heart rate would go up, but I'd always have oxygen. And I don't feel that. I am coughing after hard sets. I am struggling to get a little bit of air again. And I'm going to start doing some cardio and some jump rope to try to mitigate that. But it doesn't feel as good as Mastron did for me, which, you know, fair enough. Difference in compound, not a big deal. And that's kind of it so far. I feel like I dodged a lot of bullets. I was able to get done a lot more than I thought I would. And the short answer is, like, the experiment's going to continue. I'm probably going to up the growth hormone to 3 IUs, which is my target, on Sunday. After my gym's doing a little comp for fun, I'm going to try it out. I'm probably going to get wrecked because one of my buddies that's a V8 climber is climbing in the 5 to 7 division, so he's going to ragdoll me. But, you know, going to show up, do some dynos, do some rope swings, send some boulders, and just have a fun time. Which is going to be nice. I've been, you know, man, I've been pushing really hard training-wise for about 9 months. And it's kind of nice to just have, like, a fun day to just mosey around, screw around with, like, everyone else and just enjoy it. I love the hard training. I love the lifting. I love being able to, like, have PRs here and there, or, like, every now and again. But, you know, it's also nice to just show up to the gym and fuck around. And I definitely have missed a lot of that over this past year. Especially when I'm not hitting a lot of PRs. I kind of just, like, miss being able to show up to whatever gym I want, check out whatever sets I want. But, you know, I've got a schedule, I've got a plan, I've got exercises that I need to hit. And that kind of limits some of the variety that I'd otherwise be doing in my climbing diet. But that's okay. Jumping higher than ever, pulling higher than ever. And, you know, after I send Rainbow Rocket, I could send literally whatever I want and train at whatever gym I want. For right now, you know, it's going to be another 6 months to a year of just locking in and training as hard as possible to seeing if we get it. On early thoughts, I definitely could think of a couple compounds I was more excited in testing after week 1. Both Anavar, Masteron, and Retta I was way more hyped about at the end of week 1 than I am about NPP. And that's okay. NPP is also probably the most toxic compound that I've taken so far. So I'm fine with this being lower on things that I enjoy so far, even if I'm having a good time. The last thought I'll sort of cap on this is I really need to see some exponential changes from my fingers that don't carry over when I pull the NPP and the growth hormone remains. Because like I said, I feel like NPP is like one of the higher risk to reward compounds of things that I want to try. And while it's sort of the thing that I think has been super necessary for science, it's not a compound I want to run long term. So at least not yet. And obviously that's subject to change. God knows I've changed my mind on like almost every compound I've tested so far. But yeah, so far works really well. I'm having a good time. But I am acutely aware of the downsides of NPP versus everything else that I've tested so far. Definitely more of an intermediate compound than some of the other beginner ones that I would say like Test or Anavar or Retta. Anyway, that's this went a lot longer than I thought it was going to. If you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's always awesome having folks in here with the check-ins. I've been reaching out to a couple different pretty famous climbing coaches, and I'm going to get some feedback on some of the studies that I'm reviewing for NPP. Our Nandrolone deep dive is probably going to be coming in either over the weekend or next week, so look out for that. And yeah, more deep dives, more check-ins, and more training footage to come. Like I said, I am Adam from Anabolic Climbing, the bodybuilder's favorite little sidekick, the rock climber's favorite experiment. And yeah, gonna give you guys a front double on the way out. Wishing you great climbing, great health, and happy sending. And I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.